Hello vintage outboard motor fans, this is T-Mike making another video today. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for quite a while, and I finally got the opportunity. I got a subscriber named Jim from Maryland who bought a conversion kit to convert his 9.5 horsepower Johnson from long shaft to short shaft. So this video is going to be how to convert a 9.5 Johnson long shaft to short shaft. All right, so here's a picture of Jim's motor. As you can see, he's got the long shaft version. He's got the 4-inch extension in between the exhaust housing and the gear case, the 4-inch extension that makes it a long shaft. So we're going to actually go step by step. I sold him the kit to convert it to the short shaft, which means he's got the shorter drive shaft, shift rod, and water tube, and I'm going to show him step by step how to make that conversion, and you can come right along with us if you'd like. All right, so it's going to be a 5-part video. Okay, first part's going to be the what exactly is a long shaft or a short shaft, and the second part is going to be why is there a long shaft. All right, and then the third part, we're going to actually remove the gear case and the extension and the long shaft parts off a gear case, just like Jim's going to do to his, and then we're going to convert it, take it in the shop and do the conversion. We're going to change out the drive shaft, the shift rod, and the water tube, and then we're going to take it back outside and we're going to install it back onto the 9.5 here that I have, and it'll look like a short shaft when we get through. All right, so stay tuned. It's going to be a fun video. You might learn some T-Mike tricks along the way. So if everybody's ready, here we go. All right, so here we are. I'm outside at the Missy boat, and I'm going to show you the difference between the long shaft and the short shaft. So most transoms, all right, on all the boats that are out there, most transoms are 15 inches. From the top of the transom down to the bottom here is 15 inches. All right, so just remember that, 15 inches. But other boats, such as sailboats, are 4 inches higher. Sailboats have a 19-inch transom. Reason for that, they're out in the waves. They're on the waves, and they don't want the waves to come in through the back of the boat. All right, sailing in the waves, turning in the waves, so their transoms are higher. So the outboard motor industry came out with an extension for the length of the outboard motors 4 inches higher. So you add a 4-inch extension in the middle of it with a longer drive shaft, longer shift rod, and a longer water tube. All right, so remember, most transoms on a boat are 15 inches. Now let's go look at a Johnson 9.5 standard size and see what that 15 inches refers to. Here we go. All right, so most boat transoms are 15 inches, right? So if you measure from the stern bracket where you mount your motor down 15 inches, okay? If you measure down 15 inches, you come right to where the gear case meets with the exhaust housing, right here. That's where it unboats. So that would be where the water line is, right underneath the boat. So you have this much in the water, cavitation plates in the water, right? So when you convert to a long shaft, you add that 4-inch extension in here, because the transom is 4 inches higher. It puts this right at the water line, just like it was before, and you have enough cavitation plate in the water to do the lift job and the propeller to spin. All right, so that's what a long shaft does. It extends the prop by 4 inches because the transoms are higher on some boats, mostly sailboats, airboats too. All right, so to put this kicker on a sailboat, they need a longer shaft to keep the prop down in the water. That is the why. That's part 2 of why they have long shaft motors to make the prop stay in the water on a boat that has a higher transom. Simple? Good enough. All right, let's move into part 3 and let's start taking the gear case apart. All right, so here we are back outside. As I said, we're going to remove the gear case from a long shaft 9.5 Johnson. I have a confession to make. I've never actually really done this before. Oh, don't get me wrong. I've taken gear cases off of 9.5s a million thousand times, okay? But I've never had a long shaft Johnson 9.5. I've never had one. Jim's got one. So just pretend in your mind that this is a long shaft. All right, you saw the picture of Jim's. It's going to have a 4-inch extension plate in the middle, but it comes off the same as this one comes off. 4 bolts out right here. Pull it down, the shift rod connector is exposed. Undo the screw of the shift rod connector. Comes right off. When you take it off, it's going to have a long drive shaft, a long shift rod, and a long water tube. This one won't. It's going to have but just pretend it does have that. We're going to take it inside. I'm going to show you how to take it apart as if it was a long shaft. Same procedure. For Jim out there who's looking on how to do this, just follow this procedure, Jim. It's the same thing except you got a 4-inch extension in here and the shafts are longer. But follow these steps and it'll get you right to it. Here we go. 3/8 driver. Take the 4 bolts out right here. I'm gonna do it now. All right, that's the 4th bolt. Now the gear case ought to pop right down like that. See the gap in there? Now the 2 shift rods connect with a connector in there, and you got to get one of the screws out so it'll come out. See if I can reach it. Ow! That hurt. That's the connector screw. Now I'm going to pull the gear case off. Here it comes. So remember, this is the long shaft, and the shift rod right here is a longer shift rod. So for Jim, you got to take these 2 apart. Now the water tube, stayed in here, all right? You'll have to pull this water tube out. It'll be a shorter one. Take the longer one I sent you and put it in there. Take it right up in there. That's the water tube. Now we're gonna do the drive shaft and the shift rod. Take her inside. Take these 2 off, and then I'm gonna put them right back on to show you how to remove the longer ones and put the shorter ones on. Then we're gonna take it back outside and put it in. Here we go. All right, I've got the gear case in here. Remember, this is going to be a long drive shaft and a long shift rod. So John, we got to get those long ones off, and we got to put the short ones in that I sent you. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to drain the oil. I'm going to loosen the 2 drain screws. Okay, I got them loose. I'm going to put the gear case in my bracket here. I'm going to clamp it in. I'm gonna take the 2 screws out. I'm gonna take the bottom one out first. And then I'm gonna take the top one out. And in my gear case, no oil came out. Here's my oil pan. There's the gear case. No oil came out. I don't know what that's going to look like inside, but here we go. All right, so to get the drive shaft off, we got to take the water impeller off. So I'm going to take the O-ring that's on the top of the drive shaft off. I'm going to take the screws out of the water pump cover. Alright, got the screws out. I'm going to take the impeller off. There's the impeller housing. I'm putting all my parts right here. I'm going to take a dish, put all the parts in the dish. That way I don't lose them. Now here's the impeller. This impeller is in real bad shape. Take the water, there's a pin that holds the impeller in that's got to come out. Take the plate off. And the drive shaft ought to come right out. And there it is. Now John, yours is going to be a long, or Jim, I called you John, but it's Jim. This is going to be a long drive shaft. Okay, you're going to put the short one back in to replace it. All right, now we got to get this drive shaft out. In order to do that, we got to take the whole gear case apart, Jim. Turn it upside down. First thing we got to do is get this pivot pin out. It's a Phillips screwdriver. There's the pivot pin. Now we got to get all the 6 screws holding this gag off. I'm going to take my impact tool and a ball peen hammer, and I'm going to loosen all the bolts. You would know I got one that won't come out. I'll work on that puppy some more. Okay, I'm ready to pull the skeg off now. I hope Jim's innards don't look like this one's going to look, because it had no water in it and it had that missing bolt. I predict it's going to look pretty bad. But let's open her up and see. Look at this. Man, looks bad. Okay, so I'm gonna do some cleanup work. Remember, we're trying to get the shift rod out to replace it. Okay, I'm gonna lift the shift rod up. Pry the shift rod up. All right. Lift the shift cradle up. And I'm gonna pull out the cradle itself. There's the cradle. Set the cradle right there. Now this whole gear prop, gear, clutch dog ought to come right up. Alright, just set that aside. You don't have to take it all apart. We're after this shift rod here. Got it. Jim, that's how you take out the shift rod. So on yours, this shift rod is going to be a longer one. You're going to take the short one I sent you. You're going to stick it right back in, and you're going to reassemble it. Okay, I'm going to do some cleanup work on this, and then we're going to take you into the next section, which is to reassemble your short shaft parts, drive shaft, shift rod. That'll be in the next section. I got to do some cleaning. Alright, so did some cleaning. I think the owner of this gear case must have decided they were going to pack it in grease instead of use oil. It was packed with grease. So the gears and everything were fine on mine, but Jim, I'm sure yours is all good. So you got everything apart now. It's time to replace the long shafts, the shift rod and the drive shaft. So I'm going to do it in the reverse order. I'm going to take my gear case. I'm going to put the drive shaft in first, all right? That way when you get to the bottom, the pinion gear and everything will just sit right on the drive shaft. All right, so we go in reverse. We put the plate first. Plate. Now we're going to take the short drive shaft I sent you. And we're going to put it in, this in first. And then the little pin that holds the impeller goes in. And I like to put that pin facing forward, facing the front of the gear case. That's where the pin's at. And we're going to take our impeller, even though this one's in bad shape, I'm going to put it back on. Got to go on that pin. That's what holds the pin in place. And we're going to turn it clockwise. So I got to make sure that the fin rotation is right. It spins clockwise this way, so the fins are bent this way, and That's the way it goes, all right? And we're gonna take our housing, flip it over, make sure it all lines up, and we're gonna turn the drive shaft clockwise till the impeller fins slip in, and this now your housing should be down. Take the 4 screws and put them back in. Alright, I got the drive shaft in, the impeller in. I'm putting my O-ring seal back on the top. Alright, now I'm going to flip her over to put all the gears in. Alright, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to slip the pinion gear over the drive shaft. Got it on the drive shaft. I'm going to take my shift rod, the short shift rod that I sent you, Jim. We're going to put it in. There's a detente spring that holds it in, and it goes through that you feel it. You put your hand down underneath, and you can feel the shift rod went through the shift rod bushing. To about the middle, all right, so you can get all the gears in, all right. Then the whole section of gears just slips right in. Well, I'm gonna come up 1 notch. I'm gonna come up 1 notch on the rod. I'll put my gears in. The prop shaft coming out the back. You got this. This piece has got to be at the bottom, and then there's a groove on this that fits on that pin in there. All right, and you take your cradle and slip it over the clutch dog. Put your cradle down into the clutch dog and go down to the halfway point with your shift rod, so the pinion gear is going to have to go into this hole right here, and it's got to match up, so this needs to be halfway. Slip our top half of the skeg on. Fits on tight. Take our pinion gear and put it in. I'm going to turn the gear case around so you can see it. See the pinion gear hole right here? Take your pinion nut. Alright, now we're going to put our screws back on. Alright, I'll put it back together. Ready to take her outside and put her back on. That's the last section of this video, is getting that short gear case now back on Jim's motor. here we go outside. Before we go outside, Jim, you can check to see if you put it back together right by putting a vice grip on the prop, on the drive shaft, and with the motor, with the gear case facing you, it should turn clockwise. So push the shift rod all the way down and look at the prop. Okay, it's turning counterclockwise, which is right. All right, take your pair of pliers, take the shift rod, pull it up one notch, spin it clockwise, look at the prop shaft, and it shouldn't be turning. Should not be turning. That's neutral. All right, and take your pliers, pull up the shift rod all the way up, and the prop shaft ought to be turning clockwise. See it turning? That's how you test your gear case. Now you got to put oil in it. All right, you got to fill this with oil. I'm not going to show that, and then we're going to go outside and put it back on. That's the next part. All right, we're out here on the last step, Jim. We've converted the gear case to a short shaft. So we've got a short shaft drive shaft, short shaft shift rod, and we got the water tube changed out to the short. So to do this, key mic trick, take your shift rod and pull it all the way up, okay? And take the gear case and lift it as high as you can. Okay, got the gear case high as you can. I can see the shift rod right here, all right, with the connect on the end. Push it all the way forward so that when you shove it in, all you got to do is reach in and pull it back to meet the shift rod. I can see the water tube right here, so we got to stab the drive shaft. These splines have to match up with the power head splines, and you got to make sure and get the water tube fed in through this hole, and it should slip right in. If we're lucky. If we're not lucky, we might have to spin the flywheel a little bit to make the spines lock up. And there it goes, slipped right in. Slipped right in with a little plan. And here's the nut that goes in the connector rod for the two things. So I'm going to pull it back out a little bit. Take my pliers, line up the shift rod connector, slip the nut in and tighten. So when I got the shift rod connector lined up, I took the shift handle and I pulled it back, pushed the connector down on the two splines. Now I just got to put the nut in. Alright, I got that in. Now I'm going to push it together. All together, I'll put my 4 bolts back in. that's it. Converted a long shaft to short shaft on a 9.5 Johnson. Job well done. So Jim, good luck with your project. You got my number. Text me or send me pictures of any problems you might have. I'm here to help you if you need the help. You bought products from me, you bought parts from me, and I got support, videos, and consulting if you need it. So, hope y'all enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. Remember, here at T Mike's Vintage Outboards, we're doing it one motor at a time. See y'all next video. As I'm sitting here working on my vintage outboard motors, I started thinking about the old proverb known as paying it forward. So paying it forward means that if you've ever been mentored by someone, either a teacher, a coach, your parents, some associate at work has ever taught you skills, you reach a certain point in your life where you want to pass those skills on to somebody else. And that's where I'm at right now. If I can just help one person restore their grandfather's motor, and I've helped several, if I can just get that one person to restore that legacy motor, my mission has been a success. So that's a good thought to have. And also, always remember and never forget, here at T Mike's Vintage Outboards, we're doing it one motor at a time.